Welcome back, all you beautiful people of Hexaco. Back from a little bit of a hiatus with the old Max, aka RH Maximalist, well-known influencer, streamer, whatever you want to call him. Let's say what's up to the chat really quick. We've got Red Squirrel, Crypto Artie, Jerry Oaksmith, Ben Dubard. Hey, Ben, good to see you here, man. Doug, Hex Addicts, Tyrannosaurus Hex. Shout out to, oh man, there's so many of you. You guys have been waiting. Yeah, we were having some technical. No, it's no big deal. Tyrannosaurus Hex, a wild SJ appears from 40,000 feet in the sky. Wow, that is the pinnacle of technology. Can you believe it? We really are living in 2023. Hex Addicts, thanks for the OA video. Oh, yeah, no problem. It's kind of convenient timing with the last video that I made because I dropped it right after that last asshole debated Richard Hart. You know, that like wannabe smart guy, basically just getting annihilated. I mean, he wasn't that big of an asshole, but he just wasn't willing to let go on certain things that he was pretty clearly wrong about, you know, making some presuppositions and, you know, just different angles. You know, my take on that, I don't know about you, Max, but it's kind of like they were aggressively agreeing on with each other the whole time. Like they agreed on 90% of stuff. And then I don't even know the other guy's name. I mean, as far as I know, he's kind of like a nobody. His videos get like 10 views a pop, but like, he's trying to do all this crazy stuff like reinventing Facebook and all this, whereas Richard's like, why don't we just take what's good and promote what's already good? And, you know, not reinvent the wheel and put so much wasted energy into like these decentralized open source protocols that we already have that already work fine, that we just need to make better, make the user experience better and tell more people about them. You know, I love that philosophy about Richard where he's like, let's not reinvent the wheel. That's the whole thing with PulseChain too. It's a clone of Ethereum with better parameters because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we're going to tell more people about it. So it's the best of both worlds. I mean, he really is kind of like a Steve Jobs, in my opinion, right? Where he's trying to make a product that everybody loves and not just come up with some crazy new contraption because it's really sink or swim out there. We've seen platforms like Rumble and all these third parties really just not, you know, catch on when all we need is something that's, here right now that exists today that people are already familiar with, and we just tweak it a little bit and tell the world. So I think that's Richard's angle, which I'm way more in line with. Didn't love the accusations about the, you know, people getting paid. Obviously, I'm not paid. I know you've never been paid by Richard to promote Hex. This is a labor of love. For those that don't know, for those that are still scared of the SEC FUD, which if you have been around here for a while, you shouldn't be because there's nothing to worry about. Because it's a decentralized movement. We're all just organic streamers. I mean, I swear to God, like I've never been paid by anybody. I wish Richard was paying me. I really do, but he's cheap. And, you know, I don't even talk to the guy really. So
I'm okay with Richard not paying anyone because I thought about this the other day. Just funny. It just came across my mind. I was thinking, but if he was paying us, then he would have control over the content. And at least for me, having control over the content, what I want to talk about and how I want to phrase things and not always saying, you know, the RH is right all the time, calling out his mistakes when he does. I love how Hex Cadet put in the video, the rewind. He put all the times that he first said PulseChain was going to take 6 months. You know, we're at 22 months, and he went through every single time he gave an estimation. It was just hilarious. So I'm glad nobody's paying us. I think we can be more free to talk about what we want to talk about. And it's a lot of good RH stuff still.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be doing this if I was paid by anybody at all. I mean, I've never even taken money for a third-party promotion of any other coin because I don't only talk about Hex. Occasionally, I'll talk about some other coins that I like, and they've never paid me. I mean, I just talk about them because I genuinely think they're going to do good. I genuinely think that they are going to make a lot of people a lot of money. I mean, I hope they do because I'm choosing to put my own personal investments into some of these, but nothing is without risk, right? And we always talk about that too. You know, you take the responsibility for yourself when you're investing here. So, I mean, the guy just had it so wrong. And I'm talking about Richard's last stream. For people that don't know, he had it so wrong because he was so certain that, you know, the origin address must be paying people. And then Richard, like, pretty much nailed it. He's like, don't you think if I was paying somebody with the origin address that you would see tinier transactions? I mean, because basically the origin address is split up in between like a billion hex here, a billion hex there. If somebody gave me a billion hex, that's enough hex to crash the entire market. You know what I mean? Like if he gave somebody, a real person, a billion hex to quote unquote, promote for him on his behalf. Like, who's to stop that person from just dumping the price to zero, almost zero, and running away? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's a story that just helps people sleep at night because they can't understand that there really is a community of people that actually do believe in something here. Like, it really is kind of like Bitcoin in the early days, and it's very unusual. So I get it, but believe it or not, guys, we're here.
Where is the ETH, Richard? Where is the ETH? Okay, don't dodge the question. I've heard so many of the arguments is hilarious.
Where does the ETH go thing? I mean, at least this dude was like smart enough to not ask a lot of dumb questions, but he had just made up in his mind that certain things were true, and like going after the same old like spam email crap. It's like, God damn it. I mean, but I will say, whoever, and it's like just some no-name guy. I don't even know his name, but the person that Richard streamed with earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, he actually changed his mind once Richard presented the the evidence that he never was involved in spamming other than a tiny little infraction in a single state in the early days when spam laws were just being established. He got a slap on the wrist for like $500 20 years ago. But then there's like all these other allegations on top of that just are totally unfounded. And he was able to defend himself. And then the other guy was at the end of it said, oh, well, thanks for letting me hear it from the horse's mouth. This makes sense. And I think he actually came through on that particular angle. So hopefully that'll smash some FUD for anybody looking for that kind of FUD, hear it from the horse's mouth, not just from people like us.
If you want to hear it from people like us, I did do a few different Richard Hart AMA FUD cycle type stuff where I go through a bunch of the points that everyone's worried about. So if you want to hear from streamers, we do talk about it every once in a while.
Yeah, we do. And everyone's got their own opinion, right? But like, I don't think because nobody was there in Richard's experience in his shoes, but it's like, you hear the man talk about his experience and like, his emotions behind it. It sounds like the guy just got screwed over like a couple of times early on. And these 20 years ago, guys that tried to scam him are coming back to haunt him. And I'd be pretty pissed off about that too. But my favorite part was like, what effective marketing from that guy, right? What effective outrage marketing from the guy 20 years ago that made up a fake email with the whole Spam King thing, because it was so effective that you're still talking about it 20 years from now. It's like, damn, I had to actually, I was like, shit, man. Unfortunately, he's right. It's just that whoever, the person that scammed Richard all those years ago, they chose to use their outrage marketing tactics for evil. They could have used them for good. But it's pretty wild. Pretty wild that it was actually more proof that the outrage marketing did work, right? Because you say something totally off the wall, totally blasphemous, so shocking, and people just don't even question it. They're like, oh my God, like, let me just not look into that any further. Like, just they see an email picture with like a bunch of personally identifying information. Like, who sends an email with their tax identification number on it, their 5 phone numbers, like all their businesses, like, and then says, hey, you want to learn how to spam? And then it's like, show me the link to the actual course. Like, that spamming course thing does not exist. That was a tactic used by a spammer to siphon money from other people that wanted to learn how to spam. So they just used Richard's face, and kind of unfortunate that, you get roped into these things when you are early on in a business that a lot of people don't understand, kind of like what's happening now. Occasionally people that take the leap of faith, the people that are bold enough to speak their mind, to actually exercise their First Amendment right, to use their freedom of speech to talk about stuff they actually believe in, actually get the short end of the stick sometimes. And, people assume now that we must be doing something nefarious by getting paid, not realizing that HEX is not a centralized organization. There's no company. I'm not an employee of anybody. I'm a one-man show. I'm doing this as a labor of love. And that's hard for people to understand, but I have actually made a business just off a little old YouTube channel. It's not a big business. It's a small, tiny business, but it's just me just talking about stuff I like. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah, the fact that everyone, I don't know, maybe it is because a lot of people are paid to talk about things, and maybe that's common in crypto. So when they see a community that people just love the product and they're drawn to it because it solves a problem for them, and they want to spend their time and energy on it, maybe they just can't fathom that, hey, it is a labor of love. It is you want to promote good ideas. You want people to win who put in the work and delay gratification and do all the stuff that the system was set up to do. And this community, it's just, maybe it is hard to fathom. That's the problem. It's just like, oh no, you're just like everyone else. It's like, actually, there's something a little bit different about this one. But maybe everyone thinks that, right? Everyone thinks their community is different, but we have found the one. Like I always think about when people ask me if I'm explaining, why RH maximalism, why HEX, why this and that. I always think about my answer, and it's always like, but really, this is the right one. I'm not just in some cult. I'm not like being paid by people. I'm not like brainwashed. I've just found the best one. If I found the best pizza place, am I going to walk around the next week? Oh, let me try a different pizza place. I don't, I found the best one, but I just need to try something different. Like, no, I'm going to go back to the best one. That's the reason I'm there. I want to go back to that one. I found the best one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about also, keeping an open mind during, and not just having your head in the sand. Like, there is something to be said for keeping your attention on what's happening in the crypto space so you don't fall behind. But I mean, I do have my ear to the ground pretty hard, and I know a lot about a lot of things going on in the PulseChain ecosystem. And I really only like maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 of them out of all these projects, because I've seen so many things come and go before. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. I know what's a copy of a scam. I know what's a reloading scam. I know what's just a copy of a copy of a copy, or, nameless, faceless developers that don't ever have your best interests at heart. Because I've been here for 8 years. I've seen things come and go. And so I mean, that's just my experience. All I can give you guys is my own personal experience. And I think that's all we try to convey. You know what I mean? But anyway, I just got done watching that stream. That's why it's on the top of my mind.
Fresh, very fresh, it sounds like.
It's very, very fresh. I just watched Richard yell at some guy and him yell back for the last 3 hours straight. I was kind of calm and collected for most of it, but the accusation of being paid pissed me off personally, because I know for a fact that's not true, and I was just like, how the hell can you be so certain about something and speak in absolutes when you have no idea what's going on? Like, oh, I've done the chain analysis. Really? Do you think Richard gave 1 billion HEX to every influencer? Like, do you realize how much 1 billion HEX? Like, that's like every daughter address, right? Has about like 1 billion HEX in it, or something like that. It's like, you think, and then there's like 500 of them. So do you think like his conclusion is, okay, there's 500 people out there that are all being paid 1 billion HEX that have then staked it? It's like the HEX is sitting there liquid. It's not even staked. So like, your chain analysis sucks, or you're just making shit up, or you just, what's more likely is he heard something through the grapevine or through a game of telephone. And then by the time he actually gets to it, he's just quoting what other people that also have shit research and shit tier critical thinking have actually told him, getting it completely wrong. Pretty much, I mean, removing most of it. I mean, it's funny how somebody can be so smart, because I do think he was a smart guy, but he's just so wrong about certain things at the same time. Like, unable to
be smart and wrong. You can be smart and wrong. Yeah. I like Johnny Chaos's comment, 3 hours I can't get back.
Well, it's 3 hours you can't get back. But then I was like, okay, maybe there's some residual value to this stream. Maybe this guy actually has followers, and maybe like he'll get some new people in. I shit you not, dude. Every other video of his has like literally 20 views or less. And I'm like, he's talking about some really smart stuff. He's talking about like, what's a positive sum game versus a zero sum game. And I watch it, and like, from a textbook point of view, he's just talking about these concepts that that are pretty smart, but like, absolutely nobody is watching him. So I don't know what platforms he's on, or like where he's circle jerking himself, but he's not getting new viewers. And the people that watched his latest video, the 9,000, 10,000 views that video has, guaranteed that's all from HEX people already. So unfortunately, although it was a very big, mental circle jerk for the most of it, I don't think it really got anything other than entertainment value for people that are already into HEX. And that's why you want to punch outwards, right? Like, you want to get new people in. That's what it's all about, in my opinion.
Well, I will say that during the conversation, and somebody put the timestamps in, which were super helpful, because I was like, I don't have time to watch 3 hours today. It's a super busy day. And I would eventually watch it, in the background, just because I like to you already talk about stuff, but maybe not now, since you briefed me that it's not the best stream. But anyways, I think there was a couple things, and I'm sure we'll get to at some point, about PulseChain that kind of gave me a clearer picture of stuff that that was on there. So if nothing else, maybe something there. But again, we're always grasping for straws with PulseChain updates. And, it's nothing life changing. But I thought there was a couple interesting tidbits there that I took away of the 20 minutes I fast forwarded to get to it.
Yeah, you know what though? I mean, I think those updates are phenomenal, and people that don't think so, I think you just don't understand what's going on here. I mean, you guys understand? So there's two clients for Ethereum. You need to click two EXEs in order for Ethereum to run. One of them is called Geth. One of them is called Prism. Geth does the system state stuff, the making sure all the nodes align with each other stuff. Prism does the consensus layer. Prism does the proof of stake and the slashing of validator nodes and all that stuff. And you need to run these two things together. If they were EXEs, imagine like on your desktop, you click two programs, and that's what runs ETH 2.0. Again, Geth, system state, Prism, consensus layer. Now, when we're talking about Aragon and Lighthouse, well, Aragon is a better Geth and Lighthouse is a better Prism. So 4 clients are apparently going to be available for PulseChain to use, which is ETH 2.0 clients that exist already. And they chose Aragon and Lighthouse because these are the two best, battle-tested, second most popular, more advanced versions, and they're iterations of the previous versions. So, Geth and Prism are like what you get right out of the box. But like if you want to soup up your Ferrari and add all the bells and whistles on, you get Lighthouse and Aragon instead. They're faster.
Lambo's here.
What's up?
Lambo, not Ferrari. We use Lambos here, not Ferrari.
Sorry, yeah. We do Lambos only. But, if you want to upgrade your car, you go with this Aragon Lighthouse combo, and, the blocks sync faster. They talk to other nodes faster. The slashing mechanisms are faster. Like the consensus is everything is just better, faster, stronger, more resilient. A lot of people are going to be doing this too. And what's cool is that I was just thinking this PulseChain staking might actually be profitable, unlike what it used to be with delegated proof of stake, where you might be lucky enough to make a couple of pulse a day. Well, validators on PulseChain are going to be more profitable. I think my question to you, Max, is, PulseChain was supposed to be deflationary, and it easily still can be. All they would have to do is change some parameters about the block rewards. But do you think PulseChain is going to remain deflationary now?
Well, I've been reading up on ETH's plan too, and like you said, we can change some things and parameters there to do certain fundamentals and go certain directions. But for ETH, for example, I mean, it's still technically inflationary, but they think eventually the burn EIP 1559 and all that stuff is eventually going to, maybe it'll flip. Like it'll be like, okay, we're burning more than it's getting generated, all that stuff. So with PulseChain, I don't know, like, that was a big thing. Oh, it's gonna be deflationary. But now we're doing 2.0. I think maybe some things could be tweaked. I really haven't thought about. I'm trying to speculate less on the tokenomics because it's just, we haven't heard anything from Richard. That's the one thing we haven't heard from Richard is the tokenomics side. So it's definitely possible. But I wonder if it's going to be some core change. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. So core changes, like actually changing parameters that maybe depend on burning or depend on supply, stuff of that nature. And then there could also be just some other feature that's added on, which may require more dev time. So maybe that's not the route he wants to go. I feel like another reason he keeps sticking with PulseX being V2, Uniswap V2, is he doesn't want to delay the launch anymore. I speculate. So maybe that's one reason. Maybe there's some other fundamentals involved too. But there's a couple different ways you could change the inflation, the deflationary parts of it. I don't know. I hesitate to think of whatever it is. I think it's going to be the right move because he, again, 40 chess. This guy knows how to make the best products. I think he'll decide.
I got to agree with you there, though. I think if it ever came down to a design decision that would take more time versus less time, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Richard's going to pick whatever's faster because at this point, he just wants to fucking launch. Like, I mean, that's what I would do if I was in his shoes. And I can kind of tell from his whole demeanor. He just wants to get it out the door, not sacrificing quality, but if there's a crazy new feature that would take an extra couple of months, versus, hey, keep it the same or keep it simple, stupid. And hey, maybe the validators don't get to be so profitable. I'd be okay with that. I'd probably still run a validator anyway, even if it wasn't profitable. And what's really sick is that Alex from Hedron, I might be planning, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he might be planning to be releasing node boxes, meaning like a pre-formatted mini computer, basically with all the storage, all the RAM, all the specs that you would need to just run a full node where you just, plug it in to your wall and boom, you're running a node. You don't have to know anything about computers at all. And you could help decentralize the network. I think that'd be a great idea.
Definitely. I'm very excited about that. He did, I think he did a poll or something a couple weeks ago about describing that. And then Richard, on one of the updates he gave, I remember Alex commenting and saying, oh, great, we only need 2 terabytes or less. That'll fit on an SSD. That could be a good spec for the ideal he had for the device. So, man, if we could get a box that you just, people can just buy for a few $100s or something, you plug it in, you can figure it like a router, super easy. And then you just let it sit there and do validation, and you get to earn Pulse, and you help decentralize the network. Man, that would be a cool thing. I would definitely be interested, even though I plan on setting up something, in the cloud to do validating. I'm learning that through setting up Testnet right now. But man, if you just gave me a box to plug in, I might be plugging in a few of those boxes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like the boxes aren't for everyone. Technical guys like you, like Hodl Dog, like people that, and even me, I could set one up. I've ran nodes for other coins before. I've ran a Zcash. Believe it or not, I ran a Zcash node back in the day. I've done all this stuff. Like I'm more technical than I might let on sometimes, but I don't think it's going to be profitable. So it doesn't interest me that much at this later stage of my life. I just want to make money. But that's okay because there's so many people that I see out here in this community that, if there was a box, I'd plug in a box. Okay. Starting it from scratch, I still think that even if there were no pre-sold boxes, the craziest cool thing that people don't realize about PulseChain is that it's so decentralized already. If you look at the testnet alone, there are hundreds of nodes, maybe even over 1,000 right now. I forgot the last time I saw the map. Richard tweeted it out, I believe, or somebody tweeted it out. It's from the developers of a map of even on testnet showing the globalization and distribution of nodes worldwide. And I really do believe that it could be more decentralized than Ethereum 2.0. I mean, and I say this with a caveat, okay, there's going to be less quantity of nodes. Obviously, it's going to be a very young network, but I believe they might be more distributed from the get-go, just based on percentages of, jurisdictions. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's man, if we had that graph, there's a great heat map of, and maybe some like charts and stuff of the decentralization. And then wasn't there something going on where it was like, oh, this is getting too centralized in certain areas. I don't know if the nodes I can't remember what happened. I don't know if they're actually slashed or anything. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but it was something where people were concerned about the centralization of ETH 2.0. And it's a new network. It's something that at the start it may run into those things. I'm not super worried about it long term. I think eventually, unless Wall Street really, unless institutionals coming and they really come hard and they get into I'm just going to stop with those analogies, but unless they really start accumulating the power, and maybe they do. If Wall Street comes in, they're like, hey, crypto, that's our thing now. Let's buy all these mining centers or facilities or data centers and places to mine.
I don't think they're going to catch up. Government is always so painfully slow, but that almost works out for us because I stick by this mantra that we need to innovate faster than they can regulate. And they're still playing catch up with Bitcoin, right? They're still like trying to figure out what a blockchain is and train other people up on it. And even when they do, they're only going to catch the bad guys after they've already got away. They're never going to get the money back. They're going to be in bed with the people like FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, having closed door deals with the SEC, who were the real scammers the whole time. Gary Gensler is about to make FTX basically the only other competitor. It was going to be FTX and Coinbase. And FTX was having closed door deals with Gary fucking Gensler, the head of the SEC, to try to make it so that they could crowd out all the other competition, which would be terrible, not only for America, but for the world as a whole. I mean, especially for America, compared to what it would do to every other company. Every other company would go to places like Hong Kong, Binance, which is not an American company, would end up being more powerful. So it's like just ass backwards regulation and stuff from the SEC or from the United States government in general that I would like to see take a slower, more calculated approach and realize that if you stifle innovation, just like China stifled the internet in their country, you're going to stifle economic GDP for the entire country. I mean, that doesn't look good on anybody. Just to try to get, a couple of bucks behind the scenes. I don't know what they were trying to do or how Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to sell that. I mean, something tells me there are probably, deals in bed with the Democratic Party and all this stuff, or I should say both parties, right? Political bribes going on. And that's what happens when you let one person get too much power. They'll bribe both parties, Democrats and Republicans, and then they'll just be a monopoly by the time, within 5 years. Just to show you guys a picture, guys, look at the screen. If you wanted to see the distribution of PulseChain nodes on the testnet, this is a very cool image, guys. This is a very cool image. It shows you that there's actually pretty much, probably more nodes in Europe than in the US. You got Brazil, Argentina participating, South Africa, a fair amount in Australia, a couple in New Zealand, a whole bunch couple in India, a fair amount in China, Indonesia. You've got nodes all over the world. I mean, what is that? Egypt, Iran. That's pretty highly distributed, if you ask me. If you want to look at the screen right here, or just look it up on KDP, shout out KDP on her Twitter account. Pretty damn distributed, if you ask me. So that gave me a nice green candle in my pants, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think the crypto sphere in general, we're in this race to get rich before they can, before the gains are gone, before they tax it, before I just think, in 2030, what's, HEX, we're still going to be making gains and interest and stuff, but it's not going to be like it is in 2020, 2021, 2022. So I think, before, it's like the meme though. I wish I had my institutional is coming meme where they're holding crypto back, and JP Morgan and Square is like reaching into the soul and pulling them out. The institutional is coming deal. That's like a decade long running meme that is real. So if you're getting in crypto in 5 years from now, I can get rich later, whatever. It's almost like the catchphrase, limited time offer, the whole marketing technique, but that stuff is true. In crypto, it's a real deal. So you may be making a better than a CD later on, but you're not going to be making a 40% APY, I don't think, in 10 years.
That's a great point, man. I was just thinking about that when this asshole was arguing with Richard, actually. I was just thinking about that. It's such a weak argument because it's like Bitcoin's at the top of its S curve, and yes, the majority of its price potential to appreciate is gone. Yes, it's still going to be more volatile than the stock market. Yes, you might get a 4x or a 5x pump in Bitcoin on the next bull market. You probably will. And a 5x pump could be life-changing if you're starting out with $50,000, $100,000. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are funneling away and chucking, $500 a paycheck, dollar cost averaging into crypto, and they need something at the bottom of its S curve. That's PulseChain. That's HEX. People don't think it's HEX. HEX is literally only 3 years old. You guys know what price Bitcoin was after 3 years? It was about $12, I think. Wouldn't you kill for the chance to buy Bitcoin at $12 just because you didn't get it at 1 penny? You're going to give up and say, oh, I'm too late. But this whole S-curve thing is interesting because everybody likes to play this game of the utility argument, right? And the utility argument is so weak because cryptocurrencies have value from two aspects, right? They've got the speculation component and then they've got the utility component. There's always both. But people don't realize that having censorship resistance, having trustless yield, these are utilities. And Bitcoin has one of those utilities as well. It doesn't have trustless yield, but it has censorship resistant, and that's still a utility. It's not quite peer-to-peer cash, but you still can send value borderless peer-to-peer across the world to anybody. That's still a pretty good damn utility, if you ask me. But it's also got the speculation component of its value. And as the S-curve goes up to the top, the speculation component of the value of a coin gets lower, whereas the utility value as a percentage of the total value gets higher. So as more and more people find out about the utility and they say, oh shit, this thing's actually useful. Well, by that time, a lot of the volatility is gone because a lot of the adoption has already happened and you missed all that speculation value. And the speculation value is where the life-changing gains come in because the people that took the risk to see the asymmetric information early on, they got all the money. Cool thing about HEX is that even when it does reach the top of its S-curve of utility, of S-curve of adoption, rather, there's still much more of a use case for it because you will always be able to earn trustless yield. Yeah, the yield might not be as high. We might not be averaging 38% APY like we are right now, but let's say we're averaging 15, 17% in, 8 years, 10 years. It's going to come down as more people stake. Obviously, we know the APY is going to go down, but 17, 18% APY for an average length, stake, that still kicks anything's ass in the traditional financial system. still beats the fuck out of inflation. Like, that's still a pretty goddamn good utility, if you ask me. Trustless yield cannot be overlooked. It's still peer-to-peer. It's going to be on a lightning fast blockchain, a dirt cheap blockchain. Hey, it might even be a decent digital peer-to-peer cash. If the fees are cheap enough, HEX might even one day behave as a cash. That would be a further utility. But even if those weren't a thing, even if you didn't have the cash aspect, even if you didn't have the trustless yield aspect, which HEX does, you would always have the immutability, the borderless, censorship resistance, decentralized nature of cryptocurrency in general, right? And so that will always be a selling point. Rant is over.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, I was just thinking you were talking about the kind of speculating on the APY in the next decade or so, and I think, man, if it's 2030, we're in the top 5, solid top 5. Richard Altcoin market cap kicked out CZ, he's king now. Took over Binance, took over the world. I don't know, man. I don't know if it'll be 17. I'm thinking like 7.5 or something like that. Because HEX will be doing so well because it's so many people in it. It's a good thing. Like, you know, like Dip Catchers talked about, which is, I guess, controversial apparently, that we want higher fees on PulseChain because that means it's successful. That means it's worth money. So we want that eventually. Like, it's counterintuitive, but you want that. It shows success. And I think the same thing with HEX. It'll be you know, eventually try to start eating itself a little bit. But at that point, oh my gosh, like the heck. Yeah. Can you see like a derivative like HEX Cash or something like that? Like, oh, HEX Cash, lightning fast payments. Like, that'd be awesome.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen. I mean, I would love for PulseChain to become a victim of its own success, just like Ethereum currently is. But I think by that time, and shout out to your PulseChain necklace, by the way, that's freaking dope. I love that. I've got a HEX version of that, but I might have to get me a PulseChain one. But yeah, let's say PulseChain does become a victim of its own success, right? That's a 10-year from now. Maybe that's like, let's say that's a 5-year from now problem. A lot can happen in terms of innovation in 5 years. I mean, we can have layer 2 solutions, which we already kind of do. I mean, things like ZK.money, they take things off chain to layer 2 and they resolve back on layer 1, but they allow for way higher TPS, way higher throughput, and sometimes even more anonymity, which are 2 great features. So we can work on these scaling solutions. Meanwhile, the horizontal scaling that PulseChain allows us is a temporary fix for a problem that I hope to have 5 years from now. I hope we have crazy high fees. And then I also hope that people continue working on things like optimistic rollups and ZK Sync and all these cool things, which are nowhere near mass adoption ready yet, but they will be one day. I hope. So I want to live in a world where, you know, HEX is $10. Fees on PulseChain are crazy high, but there's still incentive to buy HEX because there's still so much meat on the bone left because the trustless yield is still paying out, you know, 20%, 30% APY. That'd be amazing. And then, hey, we also have much more utility. We have privacy, we have payments, and layer 2 is what allows us to do those 2 things in particular. So that's the world I'd like to live in. And I think that's maybe where we're heading. I'm obviously an optimist, but that's what I'd like to see. So shout out to anybody building. You know, I've heard of like things like Hurricash on PulseChain, but if we'd also like to fork ZK money on the PulseChain, that would be a really good business idea as well. I would support the hell out of that. ZK money uses off-chain ZK rollup technology to send money to anybody. You don't have to be off the chain. You could send money off chain to somebody back on the chain, and they'll have no idea where it came from. But it's not a mixer. It's just it's handling all the transactions on a layer 2 on basically a side chain. Very, very cool. Unlike Hurricash, which I believe is a fork of Tornado Cash, which might be a little bit in murky waters because Tornado Cash got, you know, fucked by the government. But hey, they can smash one, but every time they smash one, 100 more pop up, right? And that's the beauty of like even the dark web too and stuff like that. You know, you take one site down, you try to make an example out of them, you're only going to spur hundreds of more copies or innovations on that, iterations of that smart contract to then exist. So, you know, while Hurricash is a mixer that mixes things around, that might be a little bit of a, you know, might be a little suspicious in the eyes of certain 3-letter agencies, but things like ZK money, things like side chains, things like, you know, even imagine if Lightning Network actually worked. That would be actually a privacy solution as well. I mean, these are all good things.
Yeah, I think the three-letter agencies are always suspicious of any privacy or security enhancements.
Yeah.
And I just want to comment too on the just on PulseChain. I think 5 years, 2028, I can totally see the headline. Oh my gosh, PulseChain fees are so high. Richard save us, blah blah blah, and then Richard or Vitalik, somebody, what are we gonna do? And then all of a sudden it's like, Ethereum, or maybe Richard, maybe PulseChain team grows and we have our own open source deal, and they're like, oh, don't worry, we have the new PIP. I don't know what we're gonna call them. Maybe PIP or a UL 1883, and it's gonna reduce the fees. So you got to get rich and suffer a little bit, but then you got the fees reduced, and now we're gonna go on and conquer the world. Go galaxy brain it more. So I can totally see that happening in the next 5 years. Like it's like nobody can it's like this box. You have like this box of amazing, incredible stuff, but you can only get open a little bit at a time. You can only peek inside to see it. And everyone who on the outside thinks, oh, there's nothing in the box, there's nothing there. But everyone who believes inside the box and has seen what's happened so far, has an imagination, understands that a little bit at a time, the stuff's going to unroll. We're going to open it, and inside it's just fucking magical, man.
It reminds me of the SpongeBob episode where he's got the magic box. You know what I'm talking about.
We have the magic box.
We do have it, but it's only for people that can see it. It's kind of like the Holy Grail. It's like, if you're not worthy to see it, it won't make any sense to you. But,
exactly. It's like one that you can only open it a little bit at a time. Delayed gratification box. We have that, and it's special.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool. And I know you're really excited about PulseChain for so many reasons, but I know you're a really smart technical dude, and I wanted you to try to break down for the chat right now. What's your take on, number one, the PulseChain updates, but number two, like how close you think we are to PulseChain V3? Obviously, that's such a hard question to answer, but based on what what can you tell us, me and the chat?
Yeah, so from just listening to Richard too, a little bit more into the equation. Also, Richard says we're closer to the end of the bear than the beginning. So if that gives anyone comfort, well, that was pretty cool. He said that today. Yeah, so I think that so we're syncing the blockchain. So the last screenshots in the last week or two have been pictures of syncing I think it's consensus client, maybe the execution client too, but syncing parts of the blockchain from the clients that we forked. So logically speaking, if we're syncing the clients, that means we're running the code. And if we're running the code, it's either done, we're testing it, or very close. So if everyone out there is like, oh, delay on the code, when's the code ready? We're syncing the blockchain, and you usually do that before you deploy something. So 1 + 1 things seem to be close. However, Richard did say, I don't know if you caught it earlier too, but it was like, right in the middle of it, he was like, the guy asked him how long, and he said weeks, and then he said 1 to 3 weeks, and I was like, oh god, if he would have said this week, I would have multiplied it by like four or something, because if he says 6 months, maybe it's 2 years. So if he says 1 to 3 weeks, I'm like 4 to 12 weeks, just by the old math. Now the FOMO new math everyone wants to hear is anytime it's close, like next week, right? But again, the code, a lot of it seems to be ready. That's the back end part, the clients. The front end, we've seen pictures of it. They forked beaconchain.in. I looked at that. I talked about that on stream a little while back. That looks great. Just slap the UI on it. Richard mentioned a whole bunch of other technical details, but as far as how close we are, we're syncing the blockchain. It seems closer than we've been before.
Well, yeah, and judging by the screenshot that was posted, if you do the quick math on the percentage, when that screenshot was taken 3 days ago, the blockchain syncing percentage was 42% complete. So, if you consider maybe the time that it said it started to sync to the current time that tweet was posted, and if it's assuming a linear rate of increase on the percentages, the blockchain should be synced by now. It should be synced by now, and it's probably just undergoing, if I had to guess, some final stage testing. Real quick, one person asked, what is Testnet version 3? If you don't know what we're talking about, let me explain, because it's kind of important to understand. So in the timeline of PulseChain, right, when we're looking at when is this thing going to launch, you have to launch a couple of test nets. Any good developer will launch a test network where nothing is real, but it behaves exactly like the the regular blockchains. You can see on the UI, you can interact with it, you can play around, and most importantly, you can test it from every different angle, and you can unleash it on the public, which is what we have today. We have a public testnet called V2B, where that's been out for many months now. So obviously that's proof of us doing something. But PulseChain testnet V3 is moving on to the testnet version that is now utilizing the fork of ETH 2.0. See, testnet version 2 was using basically a forked copy of Binance Smart Chain. So testnet V3 is a very big deal. Somebody in the chat says it's the final boss before you get to, and I agree with that. It's basically the last stage in development, because this is when and they don't even have to release a public testnet, but I do believe they probably will, just to get everybody excited. And also to unleash it on the public is a different kind of testing. The public has a tendency to break stuff that the developers never even thought of. So when they release testnet V3 after a certain amount of time, however many months that will be, it'll give us time to, all of us as a community, test out the new blockchain, report any bugs if there are any, get hyped, get excited, HEX number go up pretty clearly. Obviously no crystal ball, but pretty sure the HEX price is going to pump. And on top of that, we just have clear indication that PulseChain launch is a matter of months away, just very, very few. And so I do still think PulseChain is going to launch this year. Whether it's Q3 or Q4, I don't know, but the PulseChain testnet is going to reinvigorate the hope in everybody. And the screenshot that we saw leads me to believe that it already kind of exists. Maybe it already did exist. Developers were already working on a previous version. They're syncing it up again. Richard did mention they were changing basically the digits for Lighthouse and what was it? Aragon.
Well, Prism, yeah. There's the 4 different clients, but I was going to say that's one thing I was actually concerned. That's the only concern I have, is that that's still an ongoing thing. They need to figure out the integer slot issue. Richard says it different every time, and actually Dipcatcher and I had a conversation about it too, where he was like, here's one way to fix it. Just make the supply lower, or the same, or something like that. But I don't think that's going to happen, because we all know RH likes high supply. That's good for public minerals. But that's the only thing I'm a little concerned about. Okay, that's the only thing that we don't know that's fixed yet. And I'm not saying it's hard to fix, but that's the only issue where I'm like, everything's synced, ready to go, except we do need to work on the supply thing. That seems to be the only unresolved issue I've heard so far.
But I did realize that the fixing the digits previously in one of Richard's videos a couple of weeks ago was that they were fixing the digits on Geth and Prism. Now that they're adding in the later two, Lighthouse and Aragon, he, in the most previous video, he said, which mind you was from 2 weeks ago, because that video took place in a live stream in which they watched the DOJ takedown of BitZaloo, which some Russian exchange. So we can actually date that conversation happened 12 days ago, if we want to be precise about it. So it means that they've moved on from fixing the whole digit and integer problem on not only Geth and Prism, but now on the copies of Lighthouse and Aragon. So they're really in the final stages of the final stages. And that's as easy of a way I can explain it from the technical background. Remember, guys, Geth is to Aragon as Prism is to Lighthouse. Geth is the system state. Prism is the consensus. That's all you need to know. Now you can sound smart in front of all your friends. It'll be great. Oh, and shout out to Marco for the nice little verse he wrote me there. He's spitting bars down there for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do we want to keep it positive and hopium, or should I throw any other concerning things out there?
Well, if you've got concerns, I think that's totally valid. If you've got concerns.
The integer thing, hopefully it's fixed, or like I said, that is good data. That is he's been talking about it for a while. So hey, maybe it's already fixed. Only other thing I would throw out is, what if there's a V4? And I'll say that, everyone in the chat, don't kill me, but I think that we had testnet V1 and then V2B, I believe was a public one. So we had 2 for the previous chain. And I know everyone wants to launch. I know, I think RH wants to launch. I understand all that, and he's even today, actually, he was like, he said probably V3, which he left it open for mainnet, which I thought was like, okay, I just cannot go to that planet. I can't go to that planet. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to stress myself out for that. I'm going to be like, oh my God, it's going to launch. I'm going to have all my coins.
Yeah.
But he did leave the door open, which I don't know why, but he did. But still, V4 would be 2 versions before a new chain launched that was forked. And I know we did all the work. I know it's not all wasted on the previous one, but still, I'm just throwing out there. It could I don't think it'll happen, but it is possible that we have a quick V4. That was the plan for before. It was like a quick V3 or a quick V2 or whatever it was. So I'm just saying it's possible. So don't be too super hyped. But anyways, I don't want to kill everyone's spirit, but I thought it's worth mentioning.
Well, let me also just I'll give you a little anti-hopium, and this only has to do with the price, right? But I do believe that there is a whole swath of people that is expecting PulseChain to go straight up and to the right forever after it launches. And look, guys, V3 is going to pump the shit out of HEX, when and if it launches. If they choose to go straight to V4, straight to go to PulseChain mainnet and skip over V3, then HEX still pumps like hell. I mean, it's going to be great. But after the launch, it's really, there's some aspect of buy the rumor, sell the news to everything. So even though we train people the best we can to have long-term visions, delay gratifications, there's still a bunch of little short-term paper-handed plebs that just want to get rid of their PulseChain bag because they're tired of waiting. And they'd be happy to sell it at, even a 10% increase. I mean, can you imagine how dumb that would be to sell it at like only 10% off? So
dude,
I'm just saying that
I think they would sell it down. I think they would sell it down. I think they would.
Down. Yeah, I wish you could sell something up. Sorry, that would be
sorry,
cool.
no. I think they would sell it down. Like if PulseChain launches and it's below the SAC price for some crazy reason. Like I believe there's a bunch of people who'd be like, nope, been 2 years, I'm getting out of here.
I didn't know what you meant. But on the converse side of that, on the hopium side of that, the PulseChain SAC only lasted 2 weeks. It was the people that knew about it were the strongest, most diamondest of hands from the HEX community. The percent, yes, very, very strong here. See these hands right here? Pure diamonds.
Working them out, have you?
This is the 5 carat diamond right here. This is the real 555 diamond.
Nice.
I don't think there's a lot of little soy, paper, lettuce, pleb hands in the sacrifice set. I think there's far more in the PulseX sacrifice set, if I'm being honest, because, and I'm not calling out anybody. I'm just saying simply because the PulseX sacrifice phase lasted so much longer. And it went after PLS. A lot of people found out about it after. They had FOMO for the sacrifice, and they also had more time to sacrifice. So I really do think that, and then also Cryptographics did a pretty good calculation that I saw on Twitter. Shout out Cryptographics, where he actually calculated if the AMM market maker fixer bot put XYZ amount of PLS into the ETH HEX pair, to even out that ratio. What would that look like, assuming the price of HEX is the same price as it is today? And in 2 separate calculations, he got a price of PLS that is over the initial sacrifice price. It was something like 0.00013. So, I mean, guys, I don't know anything for sure, but there's a pretty solid chance that PLS never actually dips below its sacrifice price in US dollars. And by that, I mean the $0.0001 price for PLS. Now, if you can get something around that area, I do think there's going to be a dip, as there always is. I mean, you look at any chart, any crypto chart. Show me any chart that when it first hits the market, somebody makes a crazy buy order, somebody makes a crazy sell order. It's a giant, massive wick, giant red candle. That happens with every chart. And the giant red candle throws things off and makes it look like the price dropped drastically. But you got to wait. You got to wait 2 weeks, wait a month, wait 2 months even. Sit on your hands and don't do anything, and let the people that were going to shake themselves out. Let them get rid of it. And meanwhile, you can just have your little limit order set for your little diamond hands to now become the whale that you were supposed to be. I mean, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be the opportunity of a lifetime. I would just, again, be slow, be careful. Don't act like you have to act on day one, and don't expect the price to just pump straight up. Although, again, what I was saying is I do think there's a much lower chance that PLS actually goes below the sacrifice price.
Yeah, and there's a lot of risk-adjusted things that we just don't even hardly talk about anymore, like the parity. We don't know what moves OA is going to make. Some people suspect there'll be like liquidity put-ups, buy walls, things like that to ensure E and PX has parity. That's one speculation. The OA could, stake things or switch some of the pairs around, or put up different liquidity, different positions to make sure that hexagons, pulsegons are getting a good deal. The ecosystem's healthy. Like that's one factor. And then all the stuff of we just don't know how people are going to respond. Like a lot of people want to get out. Are they going to sell into the hand? And then there's only a few people. Like, is there 5% of the SAC people who want to sell everything immediately, and 95% who are just like they forgot about PulseChain? Like they either are not going to participate because they forgot about it, or they lost their wallet, or they're just diamond hands. Or it's going to be the other way around. Is it going to be the 5% diamond hands, or people who are not going to sell one way or another? There's a bunch of different variables in here that we don't quite know how to reason about, because we're just waiting. We're waiting on the data to come in, and there's no chart yet. We have a chart for HEX. We have lots of data on HEX. We don't have anything for PulseChain. So it's literally the Wild West. The biggest event in crypto by far this year will be PulseChain launch. I try not to say that lightly, but it has to be.
There's no other attention in any ecosystem. Just the social metrics will tell you this. Look at everyone else's social metrics. Even accounts with 1 million subscribers aren't getting as many views as someone like you, who's got 10,000 subs, but regularly gets over 1,000. Regularly gets thousands of views. Like, on your actual live streams, obviously your clips are different, but look
very
around.
Generous with the numbers, but I'll go with it.
Okay, well, yeah, take the compliment. No, I think like I can be streaming in the bottom of a bear market, and there's 250 of you people listening here because you want to know what's going on, and so do I. Believe me, I don't have all the answers, okay, but I do have a perspective. I think I have a little bit to offer, right? I have a little bit to offer, but it's going to be the only thing going on. And when you said there's really nothing to compare it to, I would say that's kind of true. The closest thing I could possibly compare it to is look at the price chart of Ethereum. Look at what happened in the early days of Ethereum, and look at how Ethereum dipped below its we could call it its ICO price. Its ICO price was 31 cents, but it dipped to 15 cents, but not for long, for a very, very short period of time. Let me pull up an ETH chart just to show you guys how quickly that wick was in Ethereum. Let's zoom in here. Oh, this is Bitcoin. Hold on. Bitstamp. Bitstamp probably has the oldest data, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I like Bitstamp for data, but yeah. Here it is. So we'll go to the daily. Shit. Okay, hold on. Here we go. 68. No, Bitstamp doesn't have the old data. Bitstamp, the lowest price it shows is 44 cents. Maybe Coinbase. No.
I showed the other day. There was a couple of charts that were floating around. One by I think Money Gang Crypto that Axis had tweeted, and it talked about the other L1s, what price they launched at, the number of X's they did. That was pretty good for data as far as comparing stuff. And the other one,
I made that original chart. Actually, if you go back to my old videos,
there you go.
Yeah, if you watch my video, Google how high can PulseChain go, I basically just averaged the gains of like the top 8 L1s, and then someone made an infographic out of it, and then it's been copied by 1 million people. But hey, the more the merrier, Just wanted to shout myself out, give me some of that outrage marketing there. Fucking people. And then someone made a PulseX version of it, but I was like, real creative guys. It's really not that hard to do. You just fucking average everything together. It's not that hard to think of.
Xerox Coast made one the other day too that was really good. I can't remember what date it had, but it was really good. I wish I could talk about that, but I can't remember. But yeah, people were making, and I think that one is being updated. I think Crypto Sloth is working with Money Gang, and maybe they should loop you in, I guess, to update that when it gets more stuff.
You guys want to get all the precise little X's and stuff, and if it makes you guys feel better about your more certainty, go for it. It's the most simple math in the world. Go learn how to chart some stuff, and you'll be all right. But
most simple math in the world, 10,000x.
Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, on Kraken, it dumped to 15 cents on the first day. It dumped to 16 cents on the first day. And then over the course, and then it popped back up to $2.09. And I'm going to share my screen. Don't worry. I'm going to share my screen right now. Share screen. Here we go. So if anybody's watching, for anybody just listening, I'll try to describe what's going on here. But you can see this is Kraken. Kraken's great for getting really old data. But right when Ethereum launched, Saturday, August 15th, Saturday, the 8th of August on 2015, crashed from
I don't see your screen.
Oh, gosh. Silly me. We went from a high of $2.80 to a low of 16 cents. That's pretty drastic. And that's going to be a lot of chaos. I mean, that's going to happen in a very similar way on PulseChain. It's going to be a giant wick, a lot of chaos. A lot of stuff to really just ignore. Like if you want to just ignore all this, you'd be fine, because look at the buying opportunity that you then had for the next, over the next 75 days. What is that? Up 2.5 months, right? You had 2.5 months. And if you waited 2.5 months, you could have bought the absolute bottom at 41 cents, which is about 33% above the ICO price, which, remember, the ICO price was 31 cents. So this is what happens. Like, if you want to play the ratio trading game, look what's going to happen to you. Look at this giant wick. You can only imagine what was actually going on in that giant wick. I think a lot of you guys, if you try to play ratio trading, you're going to get eaten up alive. It's going to be terrible. You're going to have a bad time. Okay. You're probably much better off scaling in, buying the dip, DCAing, because all these short-term profit sellers over the first 2.5 months in Ethereum, they took their profit. And then Ethereum did a 10,000x. So, you tell me, guys. You tell me what you want to do. You think for yourself. But I really advise against making any rash, quick decisions.
So I wanted to ask too, like, why should you own HEX in a bear market? Like, what are the advantages? Like the more, like a few off the top, like more T-shares for your money, the lower price, airdrops from PulseChain, people rewarding HEX stakers like communists, stuff like that. A lot of people seem to think HEX should be rewarded. But like, why would you, if you came up to somebody in the grocery store when you do an outrage marketing video, and they're like, "Whoa, it's a bear market. Why should I buy now?" And you're talking about HEX. Like, why would they? Why should they do stuff like that?
Well, look, guys, I mean, you got two reasons right there. You got random airdrops, you got Pulse Doge, communists. I mean, these things just fell out of the sky. And yeah, I did dump all my Pulse Doge, but made me a couple of grand for free. And I'm pretty happy about that. I bought some more HEX with it, sold some for US dollars. It's everything. Life is good. Communist hasn't really done much so far, but I've got a lot of referral bonuses, and maybe one day it'll pump and it'll be great. They might actually end up adding burning into communist as well. So burning some tokens might be a way to add a little price action in there. On top of that, I think the yield should be a good enough reason, right? The yield on its own should be a good enough reason to offset some of the losses. If you're a long-term staker and you're making 30-40% APY like I am, I've significantly offset the losses from this bear market. I mean, granted, it's like the difference of like an 85% dip versus a 90% dip. But, when you look at that on the chart, it's very, very significant. An 85% dip versus 90 is actually a huge difference in terms of the price, so that the relative monetary amount that I have has been saved by the APY. The paper dollar value of my HEX holdings has been saved on paper because the yield offsets the dip. So that's like the most obvious way to stake. That's what was originally meant when we said, HEX designed to overperform in a bear market. Now, everything dips in a bear market, but HEX can pay you yield. Nothing else can. Well, I guess some coins can, but the yield's not very attractive and it's not as good, right?
And we got some other products and within derivatives of HEX, it can do pretty good on the yield side. But outside the ecosystem,
man. I want to actually pull up an ICOSA chart too. Let's see if ICOSA was a USD. How's that doing?
That I don't know about the price, but the ICOSA yield, I'm pleasantly surprised every time I look. I'm like, is that the yield? Why is it over 100%? This is insane. What is going on?
Right, and that's because some of the early people. I mean, if you were staked on the early days of ICOSA, we were getting like 100% yield in one day, especially when like the source address burned all that stuff. That was giant. And so right now, if you look at the screen, I've got the chart up here. This is the daily chart. See what we're working with here. So, I mean, we have this gap that we have to fill every now and then. So Icosa being 64 cents right now. Usually the fair price for one Icosa is about 23 hex. Am I right on that? Like 22 hex per Icosa.
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's either like 22 or 23 hex per Icosa. So hex is at a
Sloth
price.
is in the chat. Sloth, tell us when you get a chance.
Yeah, Crypto Sloth, we need your wisdom. We need the wisdom of the sloth. Let's say hex is 0.027. I mean, what price even is hex? Hex is 0.027. That's it, 0.027 times 23. Wow. I mean, Icosa might, I hate to say this, but the gap in Icosa has been closed. Icosa is now at a small premium. So that's cool. I didn't think so. I mean, look at how big the gap was for the longest time. You know, for the longest time, there was like a 20-40% gap, even maybe even 50% gap. But whoever bought that dip, you know, it rocketed all the way back up, and this might continue to happen. So, oh shit, I was really off, guys. I was really off.
So says around 36. Yeah.
But hey, that's a good thing that I was wrong. That's actually a good thing because the gap has not been closed at all. 0.027 times 35.3. Holy shit. Okay. So if Icosa was really like its market, like, I don't want to say market value, but like its fair value in hex terms, it would be about 97 cents right now. So yeah, you've still got how long to go till 90? Still got 52%. There's still a 52% dip going on right now. Let's call it a 51% dip. I mean, not bad. You know what I mean? There's a lot of room for Icosa to still grow. And I'm happy I was wrong.
You get any of those sweet What's NFTs?
I did. I got like 5 of them. I didn't go overboard. I know some people got like 100. What about you?
Yeah, that's the funniest thing in the ecosystem. It's like even, you know, I love Hex, but I think Watts is giving him a run for his money as far as like not wanting to ever get rid of them because it's a game of chicken. Funny enough, as a puppet middle, I never thought I'd say like, oh, puppet middle is a game of chicken. You know, if you hang on the longest, then you get the most yield and you get the most percentage of the pool and all that. So it's crazy. There's limited. I never really got into limited time NFTs, but the ones backed by stuff that you can trade in for Icosa, they're actually backed by something much better than monkey JPEGs, I think.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I'm definitely a fan of these financial NFTs a lot more so than any monkey picture. But hey, maybe I'm just a boomer and I just don't get it. But no.
Well, you can attach a monkey picture to a Wanta. You can do that eventually, I'm pretty sure. So maybe we'll have monkey pictures backed by Icosa. Would that be a cool tagline?
Can somebody please do that? Just make it like a Bored Ape Yacht Club, but with Watsas. Make them all just procedurally generated. That would be kind of maybe awesome. I mean, you'd have to do it right. Maybe you shouldn't like copy Bored Ape Yacht Club, but like, you know, be kind of cool. And yeah, I love seeing Dev Huey. If you guys aren't following Dev Huey on Twitter, every day he posts like the daily stats of Icosa and Hedron, and he'll tell you how many what's the NFTs are being burned every day. Every day I just look at that. I'm like, 4 more people down, you know, 5 more people down, like only, you know, 19,000 people left to go. So, hey, maybe in a couple of years, you know, we'll be like the last survivors because we've got some diamond hands, man. I mean, I would sell them at some point, but it'd be really funny to like, it'd be awesome for me to be like one of the last final 100, you know, like the final 300 Spartans. That'd be dope.
It's a cool game. It's literally like, you know, the gamification of it is something different than, you know, a lot of the other systems we have. So it's like, every time I see the tweet, I'm like, yep, not me. And I get that stimulation. I'm like, oh, not me. I'm still in. So I like it.
Yeah. Hedron's having a nice little pump too. Hedron's back at 1613 or 16313 and 5 zeros. I'm longing for the day that we knock out a 0 on Hedron, but had some pretty good price action. It was up 61% over the past month. So if you bought Hedron last month, congratulations. You're doing pretty good. I'm not much of a buyer of Hedron, but I'm not a seller of Hedron either. I just use Hedron to earn me Icosa. And I just stake that shit, dude. That's all I do. I just sit on it. You know, I love
amazing staking portal.
What? Yeah,
I'll
dude.
say that. Amazing staking portal. Yeah.
Do you have like a preference? Do you have a strategy here for this whole trifecta?
I think just the biggest thing is just staking it. Like I want to, every time I add to the stake, yeah, I don't even mind start the clock over. It's, you know, because if you do a certain amount, you do 270 days, certain amount, 90 days. So I think the biggest thing for me is just once I put it in there, I love how it, again, saved me for myself. And every time I add more, it starts the clock over, which again, keeps saving me longer days from myself. So
Yeah.
I just love the principles that we have from HEX that are also in the derivatives and the crazy amount of yield. And when you're staking, you know, Hedron, you're in ICOSA, staking ICOSA, you're in Hedron and ICOSA. Just the positive feedback loops are incredible. So
yeah.
What about you?
I mean, so I'm still trying to figure it out right now. Originally I just staked it and forgot about it. And now I'm just like waking up to the fact that there's so much to this. And I'm like, how much time and energy of thought do I actually want to put into this? Because I could think about this all day long. I mean, I'm sure Sloth goes to bed thinking about this, and good for them because there is a need for that. People love this complexity. So do I to a degree, but I want to keep it simple enough for me to know what I'm doing and to realize, like, really be aware of like my strategy. So I've got a couple of wallets, and I'm thinking about like making maybe a 90, a 180, a 270, and a 360, right? Just have all 4 time slots captured. But then what I want to do, and what I'm realizing I should be doing, is probably trying to max out the 90, the 180, the 270, and the 360, because there is a certain maximum amount of Hedron you could compound into these things before it ticks over to the next bracket of minimum number of days. So I just finished my latest 90 day came due. I made a new 90 day, but I made sure that this time when I made the 90 day, I made sure it was right at the cusp of, not going over into the 180 day. So when the 180 days due, I'm probably going to also do the restaking of that, but just try to fill it up to the brim, basically, and then just have that so that like, every 90 days I've got something coming out, and then maybe every 180 days I've got a bunch of stuff coming out. Every 270 I've got a shit ton, and then every year I've got to get like this giant granddaddy, payout.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. What's up?
I say I'll just keep it simple. Yeah, I just piggy bank it. My eyes are on 2024. I mean, that's when I'm not even thinking about this year as much. That's why I'm trying to push PulseChain launch out, all that stuff. Yeah, maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
My eyes are not on being a billionaire this year. So I just piggy bank it.
To be honest, my eyes are more on 2025. My new slogan is survive till 25.
I like it.
It's like stake it till you make it, but survive till 25, because I think 23 we might actually get some pumps and HEX due to all the PulseChain hype. I think 24 is probably going to be a pretty boring year. Like, we might get some sideways action, but we're going to need like the full reset of the bull market and everything, which it might start happening near the end of 24, but I'm thinking the whole year of 25 is just going to be a banger of a year. I mean, it's just I pulled that number out of my ass, guys. Don't take it. This is not gospel, but that's what I think may happen. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, either way, 2023 is not. I can't see this. I think, I definitely think there'll be some ups and downs, and especially with PulseChain launching. I mean, we know we've already discussed what may happen with HEX. But yeah, the eyes are, again, I've been like trained that way. That's what I love about this community. It's like, if you've been in it long enough, and I've been following Richard in particular for 6 years, and it's just the ideal. It's just they soak into you, and good. They're healthy. They're good stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm good. I'm good. And when it happens, it happens. And I apply that to everything, including the markets too. So it's good no matter what.
Yeah, man. And you've been killing it at the quotes too, for the daily sci-vibe quotes that SJ's been doing. And I could tell you're one of those guys that really just, you're bought into the ethos, right? The ideology. I mean, it's not like a religion, right? It's just like, we all kind of loosely share these common ideals of like, yes, delayed gratification is the healthiest psychological behavior you can have, not only for investing, but for a lot of other things, relationships, like all these types of things. There's other things that Richard preaches about, just like healthy ways to live your life, how to gain respect, how to not be such a pushover too. Like a lot of this, like, he talks, he really speaks to the red pill community a lot too, because it's like, don't be a pussy kind of, and like stand up for yourself, but also don't do it in a way that, hurts other people, right? Just, you should want power and respect. And these are all things that, are okay to want. But as a man, right, you need to put in effort to show proof of work, right? You need to show your actual proof of work. And women have it a little bit differently. Their value systems are a little bit different, but he plays into people's differences, just kind of like how he realizes that specialization is different, not just men and women, but everybody. Like at a company, not everybody can be the accountant. You need the accountant, you need the financial chair, you need like the product manager, you need everybody at the company, because we need to specialize in different things. Specialization makes us great as a species. Women are better at raising kids and doing a lot of shit that men can't do. Men are better physically. And, when we were hunter gatherers, we'd be more expendable, but we would also, be able to catch a fucking woolly mammoth while the women were gathering and taking care of the children. And if we died, it didn't matter as much, because, we're just a bunch of cum basically. But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Are you saying that we're supposed to be complementary and that's good? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be gray goo, as Richard loves to
put it. Yeah. And it's more of just it's a probability too. It's not like everybody's absolutely, people just, they can't see nuance, and they can't see the fact that these aren't absolute black and white areas. Men might have a 60% higher chance of having lower neuroticism than women, but it doesn't mean there's men that aren't highly neurotic, right? Like there are, even though women have a higher tendency, it's just probabilities. So we're just like these clouds of probabilities going around, and like, yes, women may have more conscientiousness, but it doesn't mean like a man can't be conscientious as well. Like, or openness, maybe that's a better trait. Anyway, I don't want to go into self-help mode, but Sonologist says no sex before PulseChain. Yeah, sorry, bro. Or is it just that's going to be hard, but it might not be hard for you.
I don't know if you want to. I'm all for delayed gratification, but man, that's all you on that one.
That's a tall order. I'm not delaying my gratification that much. Let's see. Beautiful common sense. Thumbs up for facts. Can't thank you enough for your example and strength. Thank you, Crypto Truth. Hey, dude, we've been doing this for like an hour and 15 minutes. Are there any topics you want to cover?
I mean, I think we talked about, the biggest thing that I've been looking at today was just try to synthesize the RH updates from video. I think we covered a lot of that. If anyone has questions, I mean, feel free to throw them in the chat.
Yeah, any last questions, bros and brodettes in the chat?
I mean, you kind of brought up, not to get into self-help mode, but I think just one of the things that has really helped me figure out how to be effective in the community, just community-wise, is being mission-driven. And I think that's something that, I don't know, it just really helps you, it confuses, it doesn't help you not get confused, but it helps you really, do the things that you want to do and stay with them over a long period of time. And that plays into delayed gratification, that plays into, earning respect, earning power, not just demanding them, but actually earning the right to be respected and the right to, wield power and responsibly. But I think that's something that I've looked at, I've watched your streams forever too. And I see that you're going out, you're doing outreach marketing, you're doing the, just going out, having interviews with people and just really trying to be effective. And because you have a mission, you talked about it a million times, I'm sure. And same here, like, mission, RHMax, I love his ideas, love his products. I love to win. This is the place to do it. And I think a lot of people are just, they struggle with, where they want to do in crypto, what they want to do in life. How do they want to, combine these things to bring something beautiful out of it? And labor of love, man, like if you're mission driven, you're going to get stuff done. And that's what's really helped me. And I can tell that it's helped, been a big contributor to your success as well.
Thanks, man. I couldn't agree more. It's good to have a purpose. A lot of people are, it's the blind leading the blind out there. A lot of people hop around from coin to coin because they don't care about the purpose at the end of the day, or they'll become a day trader because they don't care about getting the word out for one particular idea, which in my opinion, in my case is HEX, and that can be whatever you want it to be. You know what I mean? I don't care what coin you guys shill, like, or you don't have to shill anything. I don't care what stupid, stuff that you do on the side for a hobby. If you do it like you mean it, like it doesn't have to be stupid. There's going to be a group of people that love it too. Hey, Jonathan Roberts, thanks for the sub. Yeah, being purpose driven will make you literally unshakable. Like your faith is going to be tested in the bear markets. My faith has been tested multiple times. I mean, it's not easy for me to sit here and like take all this FUD, all these, vampire attacks, all these like, SEC FUD and all this stuff. This is not enjoyable, but having a purpose makes me that much more diamond handed. I can see the end. I can see the vision I have in mind, HEX at $10, 2020, 2030, 2035, multi-millionaire. Like everybody's happy. Everybody's rich around me. Like maybe even living on Hexaco, call me crazy. But all these fun I toy with are, who wouldn't want a community at the end of the day with a like-minded community that's based on not only getting rich, but freedom at the end of the day. I was thinking earlier, and it's like more than money, I think most people here want true freedom. And I think that's what money partially offers you, right? Now, yeah, the things you own can end up owning you and all that stuff. Don't buy 10 Lambos, then you're just going to be paying for storage costs, all that crap. But we're here for freedom, right? We're here to exercise our freedom of speech, our freedom of movement, our freedom to express ourselves how we want in the world. And nobody can really take that away from you. I believe that's an innate human right. I want to tell everybody that as well. So we can get there through crypto. We can get there through making our own parallel financial system where nobody can tell you what to do, how to live your life, how to spend your money, where you can travel to. Nobody can shut you off. Cryptocurrency is a beautiful thing that's happening in the world right now. So it's really fun for me to be a part of. But then you've got these subdivisions, right? You've got these different teams within cryptocurrency. And I'm happy to be on the HEX team, right? You guys are the HEX tribe. And so you guys are my tribe. And it's really, really, really fun to be a part of because it's fun to be on the winning team, bottom of the S curve, mad gains train for the next bull market. It's going to be glorious. That's all I got.
Yeah. I think that one of the best things you can do in your life, at least for me, is to own your own time. Figure out a way to do it, no matter if it's crypto, no matter if it's, you got to work 3 jobs, whatever it is. If you own your own time, you can be the best version of yourself and you can help other people. And if you like those 2 things, if those are some goals in your life, they are for me, that you can do it. You just have to, find a place to do it. And I'm happy. I never thought that. I always thought, before RH, before HEX community, I always thought, I'll be rich one day. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. I'll do it. But this is, once I joined the community, I felt, wow, there are like-minded people who share a lot of the same values and they're in it to win it. And this is the fastest, easiest, most effective way I've seen to do it. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been a fun ride. Cheers to 15 more years. All right, boys and girls.
5.
Call it a night. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe. If you're brand new to crypto, I do have a course at hexpassiveincome.com. Teaches you everything you need to know. Also, if you just want to collaborate, ask me questions, or join my mini community, go to my Patreon, cryptocoffee.com, patreon.com/cryptocoffee369. Link also in the description below. You'll get a lot of my one-on-one personal attention, and we can just, back and forth on whatever you want to talk about. Bye-bye.